fought mock fights as a gladiator in the middle of this building. Commodus, who was the emperor of the movie The Gladiator. Now, Commodus was a real emperor, not just a film character. He fought 620 real fights. Real in a sense that his opponents were killed, not him. Most of them half dead before the fight even started, or not allowed to touch him during the course of the fights. Now, Commodus did train with the gladiators for a number of years in one of the training schools. And he was also obsessed with the myth of Hercules. Actually, he thought of himself as a reincarnation of Hercules. He's most likely insane. That's his portrait. It's him. He liked to be represented with a lion skin over his head. And a lion skin over his head and carrying a big heavy wooden club. You know, the symbols of Hercules. That's how he showed up one day, the Roman Colosseum, to take part in one of those mythological events, I was describing earlier. One in which Hercules had to be killing mythological monsters, and the monsters were 100 men who were brought into the arena with their legs tied so they could not run away. They were given sponges to throw at Commodus representing rocks. Commodus spent the afternoon smashing heads in the Roman Colosseum. He killed 100 in one session, but he stopped every now and then to have a drink and even a bite to eat. It was so crazy that he'll end up getting killed at 31. Even the upper classes felt unsafe with him around town. Some of the senators paid his favorite mistress to poison him. Well, she gained some poisoned meat that he ate, but for some reason he didn't die. And around that day, as he was taking a bath, his wrestling mate, that was a professional wrestler, strangled him. Commodus wasn't killed in the Colosseum. He was actually strangled by a wrestler while taking a bath. All of this great fun came to an end in 523 AD, with the last record of his show held at the Colosseum. Because the end of all of this is the barbaric invasions. By then, the Roman Empire was disgregated. One of the consequences is the decrease in the population of Rome. The barbaric armies besieged Rome, cut the aqueducts. People here had to be using the water of the river, so there were epidemics. At the same time, they started moving to safer places. And Rome passed from being a city of 1 million people to a small town of about 20,000 in a little over a century. I mean, what was the point of having a stadium for 60,000 in a town of 20,000? And in a 5th and a 6th centuries, the emperors couldn't even dream of having thousands of wild animals shipped over from Northern Africa, the Middle East, Northern Europe, and so on. They no longer had the resources for the games. So the Colosseum was used for a number of other purposes. This building became a condominium during the Middle Ages. For some 300 years, people actually lived in here in apartments, and there'd be shops and stables set up under the ground level arches. It was used as a church and a cemetery, as a fortress. Two noble families lived in here for 170 years, and even had a fortification system built all around. What actually drove everybody out of the building was a 1349 earthquake, which caused the south side to collapse almost entirely, making the building generally unsafe. The Colosseum fell into almost complete disuse and disrepair. Now, during the course of the 15 and 1600 in particular, more than a pope tried to turn this building into a sanctuary, into a place of pilgrimage. On the basis of the assumption that hundreds of Christian martyrs were killed in here, which is still today a somewhat popular misbelief. I mean, still today, well, you've seen a cross on the other side, right? The Pope comes into the Colosseum every Good Friday, stops in front of the cross. During the Easter procession, the stations of the cross, 4 are the stages of the stops, or the stations of the cross are in the Colosseum. In reality, there's virtually no evidence of Christians killed in here. I mean, except for one. The only Christian martyr that is shown by the evidence is St. Ignatius, killed in the Colosseum in the 2nd century. Then we know of a monk, his name was Telemachus, who jumped into the arena as gladiators are fighting. He tried to stop the combats, and the spectators killed him because they wanted to keep watching the show. During the persecutions, the Christians would be crucified along the main public roads outside of the city. Sometimes there could be mass executions of Christians in the Circus of Nero, a stadium used for the cherry races, which is what today is St. Peter's Square. But there's virtually no evidence of Christians killed in it. There's also no source reporting Christians killed in the Colosseum until about the 1500, which is when the myth was created. And by the mid-1800s, this building had become some sort of a botanical wonder. An English botanist wrote a book describing over 400 different species of plants growing in the Colosseum, of which many were native of Africa and Asia, and were nowhere else to be found in the area. The seeds must have come here with the wild animals, the foodstuff for the animals, and exotic plants the Romans brought into the building to create a stage setup with. Left in here, it seems that they found ideal conditions. High walls all around, providing a warmer microclimate, and the water of a stream still running under the building today. Still today, that water is coming out of the bottom of the drain. I mean, it's there now because the drainage system built by the Romans doesn't work as efficiently as it did in the ancient times. There are about 3,000 meters of channels, serving this building, by the way. That was ideal for a botanical garden, let's say. It was all cleared out in the late 1800s, and since then, the Colosseum looks pretty much the same as it does today. And that's about everything I had to say about the Colosseum. Now, I'd like to remind you a couple of things. Now, if you guys happen to be in town tomorrow or the day after, it means 7 days a week, 4 times a day, 12, 1:30, 3